Hi, so welcome to my submission for Cloudspokes Challenge 2816, which is to create batch notification emails. So I'll give you a quick demo of my solution for the application. So let's get a Salesforce. So I created each of the objects as per the specification. And what I've done is I've created a couple of classes. So the first one is a batch notification email batchable class, which basically allows the scheduled job to split up the task into a number of batches. So the scheduled job basically queries for a list of members, and also in a subquery retrieves each of the members' notification settings, where the notification settings include email, and the do not notify flag is set to false. So going back to the batchable class, so as you initialize the class, it runs a query to pull back all of the open for submission challenges that were launched today in ascending end date order. We also initialize a default subject, so the challenge didn't actually specify what this should be, so I've just created a fairly generic value here where it says Cloudspokes challenges and inserts the current date. Also challenge summary template, again based on the template attached to the challenge. I've adapted this slightly so that within the challenge summary template there's tokens representing the values that we're going to substitute into this when we create a mail record. So we enter through the execute method on the batchable class, and basically what it does is so it has the scope, which is the set of member records, so it iterates over the member records. It loops through the challenges and compares the members' notification settings to the technologies and the platforms listed on the challenge. It looks for matches. Where it finds a match, it adds the challenge to a challenges map, which is specific to that member. And it also adds the challenge to a list. Now the reason I add it to both a map and a list is that the list preserves the order of the challenges, so that when it adds them to the body at a later point, they are still in end date ascending order. So essentially with the most recent end date challenged is listed at the top. The reason I put them in a map is that I can quickly determine whether the challenge has already been added. Once it's processed, worked its way through all the challenges, if a challenges list size is greater than 0, indicating that a match was found for that member, it creates a new mail, puts in the default subject, sets the member's email as the 2, and then generates the body by creating this mail body and passing in the list of challenges that were matched. So if I quickly jump down to that method, you can see here, so it basically iterates over those challenges and creates a challenge summary for each of them, and each challenge summary is then added to the return value, which becomes the body of the mail. The new mail is then added to an insert list. Again, basically using an insert list that we don't issue lots of DML statements, basically does it all in one go. Once it's worked its way through the scope, so the list of members, it checks to see whether there's anything in the insert list, and if there is, then it commits those records to the database. It does it with all or nothing set to false. So if any of the records error, only the errored record is dropped out of the transaction, all the other records still succeed. We then process the saved results. So processing saved results basically just logs any errors out through system.debug. So that's basically the batchable class. Now for the test class. So what this test class does, so at the moment, pretty much due to time constraints, there is only one method, but this one method tries to test a lot of the different possibilities by basically seeding random data. So there's a number of methods that are called, or helper methods, like create platforms and create technologies. Basically create a given number of records for these items. When we get to the notification settings, this method does a little bit more. So if I scroll down to it, so what it does is, this is where it starts to randomize some of the data. So for a given number of members, it basically creates those members and then creates 2 times notification settings for each of those members. The do not notify flag is basically randomized. So basically you roughly get half true, half false. As is the notification method, that's also randomized. So basically you can get one of these possible combinations: email, site, Twitter, and then we've got a few multi-select options just to test that works. We randomly select one platform, one technology, and we create the 2 notification settings, one for the platform, one for the technology. We basically do a quick assert, make sure that the notification setting size is correct based on the number of members we were told to generate. Save those settings and return the notification settings. Just return up to the top. So once we've created those notification settings, we do a quick debug out to see out of the notification settings that we created, how many of them include email and do not notify equals false. Because these are the particular notification settings that we're interested in. We also log out each of those notification setting records that meet that criteria. Using the JSON serialize, we just pump out the entire record, so that if you're interested, you can have a look at the debug log and take a bit of a closer look. Next, we create the challenges. So again, creating challenges works a little bit like the notification settings, in that there's a lot of randomization inside it. So the challenge type is randomized, so it can be first code design first to finish. Roughly it should be even split across them. Status is randomized, so we've got a draft, hidden, open for submission. Challenge description is just defaulted, challenge ID put in. We create a random launch date, so we basically get today's date, and then it can basically generate a date that is 2 days either side of that. Generate an end date, so this is based on the launch date. Again, is randomized, and the idea is that it should be within 2 to 7 days of the launch date. Default prize money, that's not really important, so just keep a static value. Create the challenges. We then need to basically associate platforms and technologies with the challenges. So create a platform and a technology for each challenge that we've just created. The platform selected is randomized from the list of platforms and technologies that we've created. Inserts those, and then basically if we go back up to the top here, so created the challenges, so we then basically do a quick check to see how many of the challenges that we just created were open for submission and launched today. So that'll be a smaller subset. We debug out the challenges that met that criteria. Again, using JSON serialize, so you can analyze the debug log to see the detail of those records. So with all the seed data kind of set up, we're ready to start the test. So we basically use the same query that the schedulable class uses. We invoke the batchable class, the execute method, which basically generates the emails. We stop the test, we see how many emails were created, and then we debug out each of those mails using JSON serialize again. We can analyze the debug log to ensure that each of the mails created match the criteria, and that the bodies of those mails, that the items were created in the correct order. So with the challenge with the most recent, with the nearest end date is at the top, and then everything else sort of ascending from there. So that's basically the guts of the challenge. I think we could probably come up with a few more test scenarios with a bit more time, but as I said, due to the sort of tight time constraints of the challenge, I feel that sort of does a reasonable coverage. Certainly it covers most of the code, and more than that, it tests a lot of the different sort of scenarios by generating a wide set of seed data. One thing obviously just to add, so actually let's do a quick run of that test to give a quick demo. So if I go to the test execution, select my test and run it, wait for it to finish, shouldn't take too long. So it's completed. Debug log for that test. So make sure you enable debug logging for your user. You probably want to set the filters down so that you're only outputting Apex code to debug. Go to the most recent start, so that's that one. Sure it's done everything that we kind of expect. And that's not quite what I expected. Just quickly delete all of those, let's run it again. Debug in there than I expected. Okay, so that's finished. Let's go back here, do a quick refresh. There we go. Log size is kind of big again actually. Maybe I've got too much logging turned on. Certainly debug log. So yeah, I apologise for that. You'll need to refine these settings so that it's only really printing out what you get from the system.debug statements in the code. If you get that, you should be able to see, as I said, the various outputs from the test script. The right window, so that you can see it basically creates all the platforms, technologies. You can see the notification settings that match the criteria, the challenges that match the criteria, and the number of mails outputs. So that pretty much brings close this challenge. As I said, if this challenge gets extended, I'll probably do a little bit more work on these tests, this test class. But I think it does a reasonable job. Any questions? Drop here an email, or feel free to get in touch. Likewise, if you spot any errors, obviously happy to fix them. Thank you very much.